What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and based off the request that some people have had in the community for me to kind of address this, here we go. Blizzard has gone and done something that I feel is personally very reprehensible. And so essentially this video is going to be asking the question, if not now, when? What do they need to do for you or all of us to kind of pull our support? And I'm going to let Chris also address his own thoughts, perhaps in his own video. This video is going to be structured in a way that I'm going to catch you guys up to speed, because even if you don't ultimately agree with my opinion, which I'll express at the end of this video, if you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. Let's keep the discussion reasonable in the comments below. But I want to just inform you, because this is, we're an education channel in that regards. I want to educate you on what is going on out there in the world, and ultimately the decision is going to be up to you whether you want to take any action or not. Because that's really the ultimate question. If not now, when? So, over the weekend during the Asia Pacific Grandmasters broadcast, there was a apparently quote-unquote rule violation in a post-match interview. Now this, and I apologize for probably mispronouncing the name here, Blitzchung and two casters, which basically resulted in the removal of the match and the video on demand. Upon further review, they found that this was in violation of the 2019 Hearthstone Grandmasters official competition rules, section 601.0, and is in the individual behavior, does not represent Blizzard or Hearthstone esports, and it's found below. Essentially, engaging in any act in Blizzard's sole discretion brings you into the public dispute, often or offends a portion of a group in public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image and will result in the removal from Grandmasters and a reduction of the player's prize total to $0 in addition to any other remedies which may be provided under the handbook of the Blizzard's website. This obviously is a technical thing. I think essentially what's really damaging Blizzard is this own action is what they've decided to do. They're siding with China. Sorry. Opinion will be coming later in this. Essentially, long story short, the Blitzchung here expressed support for the protests going on in Hong Kong, which, if you guys have been on any kind of social media, has been a persistent thing that has been going on. Hong Kong is currently protesting, and China is not very pleased with it. It is a very hotbed situation, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm an expert on any of it. Honestly, at the end of the day, I feel more like a coward because I have not spoken up about this. Namely, because I'm going to fully admit I do not understand the full ramifications. My initial gut reaction is obviously to support Hong Kong and the protests, peaceful protests that are going on there. But that's not to say that I know absolutely everything on it, and so I'm not going to sit here and try and pretend like I'm becoming an expert. I've been reading articles, and I've been frustrated by the whole situation, but yet I feel like a coward because I do have a voice and I can speak up against it, what's been going on there, and that's just where I fall. So you can let me know, right or wrong, what hopefully I can do to better our planet and our world. Anyway, so why are we talking about this today? Because I want to kind of catch you up to speed. Over on the WoW Reddit, just for an example, this has been all over the Blizzard. The fact it's also trending on subreddit, on Reddit itself. We're going to also talk and show you guys some big individuals that at least I follow and what they're saying on Twitter as well. And then I want to hopefully engage with you guys in a discussion after the education thing here. So they said, obviously we caught you up to speed of what was Blizzard said. This has sparked a lot of quote-unquote discussion, and as they were writing this, the top threads on World News, the Gaming Reddit, the Hearthstone Reddit, the StarCraft, the Heroes of the Storm, the Warcraft 3, Blizzard, and Overwatch. And essentially they cannot keep up with the amount of outrage that this has spawned. Gamers are really frustrated by this action because it feels so very corporate, and it makes sense because Blizzard has a lot to lose with China. And I'm not using that as a justification to what they did, mind you. I'm just telling you, the stakes are still the stakes. And they have to try to navigate this. But what's really cool, or at least from all of it, is that, here we go. Not everybody agrees, at least within Blizzard, of what action they took. and there is essentially in the middle of the campus, there's a big orc statue surrounded by the company with slogans. And so within Blizzard, it seems like there is a lot of turmoil that is going on. And essentially what is at conflict is both the think globally and the every voice matters values, that they're actually, what at least Kevin here is saying, being covered up by the incensed employees that are are mourning. So they have the think globally and every voice matters, and those are being covered up by employees at Blizzard, etc. So what's key to remember in all of this is that Blizzard as a company is also made up of individuals who agree with us, who agree with gamers and agree with the mindset that is going on there. So be very careful about thinking of repercussions. Like, I know a lot of people might be angry enough to do hopefully nothing stupid, but let's just be real that, you know, people tend to react in ways. And just note that it's not people who work for Blizzard, but ultimately maybe they can actually enact some change with this whole thing. So we talked about that, Reddit. So we talked about the Blizzard suspending. This is on also Kotaku. I can never seem to pronounce that right. So if you guys aren't aware, the issue here is that obviously in Hong Kong, it's pretty bad, at least from the reports that I'm seeing. And for me, I think it's very, very frustrating to see what this situation has unfolded. You know, it ultimately makes me ask the question, when it comes down to working with China, communism, and the rights of speech, China is such a huge global market, and ultimately it's because of that we see these connections, these justifications, these bending over backwards in ways to appease them, because they represent such a huge market, a huge global market. There's a lot of industry, a lot of investment, a lot of work that can also come out of there, and it's that think globally here that is ultimately biting Blizzard essentially in the ass. So, all right, Skill Up, I think he tweeted something that's pretty interesting. It's pretty astounding how on point South Park's social commentary has remained literally over 22 years, and how fearless they've remained in the face of pretty much every type of backlash. So essentially, if you guys haven't been following this as well, South Park is being banned in China. There is a lot, I think, of building up here, and sometimes it could be a good thing. Ultimately, it could lead to change in that regards. And sometimes it goes the other way. And I don't know which way this is going to go. Ultimately, I think that that's why this video is asking the thing. If not now, when? Like, what are you as a gamer going to do in this situation? Does this actively frustrate you enough to sit here and say, okay, like, you know, how do we change it? How do we have a reaction or a message that's big enough in the face so Blizzard's sitting here like saying like that's actually the worst? This is, I think, something, while this one situation ultimately is what culminated in the frustration and the backlash, it'll be interesting to see if it lasts. One of the things we see constantly and continuously in this society today is that we're just moving from outrage to outrage to outrage. That's why I was hesitant on talking about this in a video, because essentially here, in a week, is this still a thing? And, you know, that's honestly where I think companies start to play ball, you know, where they start to play games. And that's what I see, and that's what I kind of predict seeing here. Hopefully I am wrong in that nature. Now, Yang tweeted out, Blizzard's obscure guidelines say that it is inappropriate to say what offends a group of the public and is dedicated and is decided at Blizzard's own discretion. This is also so incredibly invade, and declaring that pineapples belong on pizza may as well just get you suspended. I think this is a little hyperbole in that case. But the sentiment is right. I think the emotion that Yang is expressing here is pretty, you know, straightforward, etc. Because it's that anything, and we see this with social media, we see this with YouTube, we see this with so much right now, in which that there's so much backlash that happens on these companies because of the actions of a few, but that's not saying that that's what this is. It's a two-edged sword. It's a double pendulum, because sometimes outrage is necessary and appropriate. Sometimes these companies overreach and overstep, and ultimately that's where we align in that regards. And we talked about Jason Streever's tweet. I actually really thought Heel versus Babyface's tweet here was really clever, saying, breaking news, Blizzard staff gathered together at unveiling of the new Chairman Mao statue that replaced the old orc one. A representative of Blizzard said, we wanted a symbol that reflected our current values and direction as a company. Any staff that didn't cheer were promptly executed. So, if not now, when? I honestly, I'm thrilled that Bungie got away from them. You know, Activision Blizzard. You got to start seeing these companies. One, you got to sit here and they have to feel the pain. They have to understand what's happening and ultimately make a change. And it's really encouraging to hear that people within Blizzard are really upset about that and that fact. And it also is showing just the power of that these game companies have when it comes to esports and more, being such a new medium, right? There is a risk, there's a fear, obviously, that the mindset that people say, stay in your lane. You know, like, you know, hey, we don't like it when our sports, our athletes or our celebrities, they make a comment on, you know, various things, you know, and everybody has the right to be offended, to not be offended. Everybody has the right to kind of consume what they want to consume. And so I'm not telling you to do anything in this. And my ultimate opinion about all of this is that we just need to be better to each other, and we need to figure out where a line in the sand is, define it so that if it's crossed, that you can then say, okay, that was it. Don't attack other gamers who disagree with you, though. We have to be inviting as a part of any kind of frustration, and we have to explain it in a way that makes sense. If we attack each other, we're doing no favors to any side of the argument. So think about what you want to say and think about where you stand, and make sure you send a message one way or the other. I don't stand with Blizzard on this. I'm curious as to where Chris will fall. I think one of the things that Blizzard has is that we love their games, and ultimately over the last couple of years, it's very apparent that they're not the same. There's an interview that was going around that Chris was working up on a kind of a discussion topic with it, and I'm really looking forward to when he gets that published to you guys, because there is just the sense that Blizzard is lost. And when you lean into and when you show your true colors, like ultimately maybe this is the best thing that could possibly happen, both for Hong Kong and for gamers worldwide, to see where and who is Blizzard, who is running it, where their values align, and how as using the tools with social media and using the forms of YouTube and Twitter and more, as well as sending a financial message in the regards of, okay, are you done from WoW Classic? Is that enough to do it? Are you not going to do X, Y, and Z? Is that enough to do it? So ultimately, you're going to have to make the choice for yourself. And yeah, we're going to have to decide who we are as a culture and as a community. And I'm not telling you what to do again. I'm just wanted to give you the information, and I wanted to give you kind of my thoughts on it. If you guys want to know more thoughts, you know, like maybe Chris and I will sit down, let us know in the comments below. I do apologize. This isn't a fun video to talk about. Like, this is a real life situation. People, you know, they're fighting for the freedom in Hong Kong. At least that's the way I see it. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So if you watch this video all the way through, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below, and yeah, let's have that conversation. But well, I guess I'll see you next time.